Hello everyone, I'm Chidinma.
And I'm Ojanugwa. You can call me OJ. Welcome to Scholar Chit Chats. We're your hosts on this exciting journey.
That's right, Scholar Chit Chats is not just a podcast, it's a conversation. A talk show crafted to bring you a fresh, honest, and comprehensive perspective on academic scholarships, professional life, and the unique experiences of life in the diaspora or as an international student.
And we are not just talking theory, we're sharing insights from our own lived experiences because we've been there, navigating academia, chasing scholarships, and building our professional lives in a foreign land. So a big thank you for joining us today. It's fantastic to have you on board.
We're beyond excited about this episode and we hope you are too. Get ready to dive deep, laugh with us, and maybe even learn a thing or two. So without much ado, let's jump into Scholar Chit Chat. It's going to be a journey full of stories, wisdom, and maybe a few surprises along the way.
So thanks for being here, and let's make this episode an insightful and enjoyable ride. Here we go.
Hello, fellow Chit Chats, and welcome back to another insightful episode of Scholar Chit Chats. I'm Chidinma.
And I'm OJ. So today we'll be talking about our Japa experience, the truths, the experience, myths, and so on. And it will be so much fun. So I have some questions for you, Chidinma. Let's talk about preparation. How was it getting ready to move abroad for your studies?
Okay, awesome. You're right, OJ. I think it's going to be a very interesting episode. And I think that while we were speaking, it just came to my mind that some people who may be listening don't know what Japa is because I think it's more of a Nigerian kind of thing. So Japa is basically traveling. So it's more like how is traveling or leaving one's current domain to another one. So that's what we're talking about. So as OJ asked, in terms of my preparation, how was it like for me to move abroad? That was the first traveling to study for my master's. Was the first time that I ever left Nigeria. So it was exciting for me, right? It was a mix of excitement and anxiety. There was a lot for me to prepare. From getting my admission, my scholarships, figuring out my accommodation, visa application. Yeah. So I think in terms of my preparation, it was broken down into different phases. So when I confirmed that I was going to travel, first of all, I started preparing for my visa application because a lot of people want to leave, for instance, in Nigeria. And it was so funny and it was a bit hectic because getting a date for an interview was another thing. And I knew I was going to leave. I literally had a couple of weeks or so to travel because I picked my travel dates because that's the way the scholarship I worked on, I went on worked. So I had to start navigating how to, apply for visas, ask questions. And that's one thing about this whole process, asking questions. Thankfully, I had a couple of friends who had gone through the same experience. So they were very helpful to direct me to, the right forms to fill, how to answer questions. Because, for instance, on the visa application form, there are questions that weren't so straightforward, right? And you don't want to make a mistake and then you get to the date for your biometrics and then realize that, I made a mistake. So there was that. I think the second thing was also accommodation because interestingly, I didn't understand how the accommodation system works. In Nigeria, we typically pay rent for a year and then that's it. So imagine my shock when I found out that you pay rent per month and I needed to get an accommodation before I arrived. So at least I could have a place to, look out for. So in UK, there are very helpful sites. I know I use Spare Room a lot. And then there's one that a lot of people don't know, and that's Christian Flat Share. So Christian Flat Share is really good because it offers you really good accommodations at really affordable prices, right? The first house I lived in was super affordable. If I tell you how much I paid, you probably laugh. So, but it was good because I reached out to the landlady. We spoke. We had a meeting virtually. She showed me the house and it was really interesting because I didn't think that I was going to get the accommodation while I was still in Nigeria, but it was pretty seamless. I had, thankfully too, I had a friend, my friend Joy, who also was very helpful. She helped me book my train ticket because because of the transportation I was used to in Nigeria, I didn't know that you had to start booking. Because, for instance, in Nigeria, I don't need to, I mean, some cases you book, but then typically you just get to the park and like, oh, I'm going here. So those were kind of like, the things that I did, right? So I would say accommodation was really important to me. I think the final point I want to make on this was food and clothes. Uh, so interestingly, we had a list. By we, I mean children scholars. We had a list of the types of food to bring. There were people who were saying, "Come with food, don't come with clothes," and some say, "Come with clothes." It was so confusing. So I think I tried to do a blend of both. So I had one baggage filled with different food stuff, dry things. Of course, I had to read what I could travel with, and so that was really helpful. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos, so that was really helpful. So I think that was really how I prepared for mine. So asking people, doing research myself, and watching a couple of YouTube videos.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Chidinma. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with Japa, with actually preparing to travel generally. I feel like it was quite similar for me as well. The whole thing just comes as a rush. Like you apply for the scholarship a year before, everywhere is kind of radio silence. All of a sudden you get it, and then you have like maybe 2 months. I think at least because it was COVID times. I think COVID delayed how early we got feedback. But I think now people probably get feedback a bit earlier. Maybe you have like 3 months to start preparing everything. So everything just comes like a rush. And I remember that one of the first things was that I didn't have money. Like that's the funny thing. It's called you're going to get a lot of money potentially, but when you're preparing to travel, you have not received any money yet. At least I know that's for the Commonwealth shared. That's what happens. I don't know if other because there's the other Commonwealth scholarship that's not shared. I think they normally receive stuff, but I'm not sure about that. But for the share, you don't receive any money until you actually step foot in the UK and resume to your school. So all the while that you're preparing, you have to get some money. You have to get some money there first to for all that preparation, which is something that I don't know. I don't know if it's just only me, but I was not working before then. In fact, prior to that, I had started another master's in Nigeria already. So that was taking loans. I had to take loans to be able to buy the food stuff. So I know when you were talking about the don't bring food, bring clothes. Don't whatever, bring clothes, don't bring food. Yeah, there was also that as well. I got a list. At least I had lists from different people, actually, like 3 different lists that I kind of found like what was the average sort of what the common thing was. I used those lists to pack stuff. But I think most important is I had family here, so I was able to. So most importantly, it was family that really really helped. And generally, the advice I think that one at the end of the day was don't bring clothes, bring food. So it was food. And bring stuff like attachment, weave on, things that are more Afro-centric. I mean, there's a lot of things that you would find, but you just find them at more expensive prices. And if you're just moving to the UK, you probably don't want to come and be spending bucks. So if you can still get, I mean, you would definitely get a lot of things cheaper in Nigeria. So get it. And I remember also an advice was buy jeans. So I came with jeans. So most of the clothes, so how I packed was my carry-on luggage was clothes. Those were the only my carry-on. The carry-on bag was the only clothes I brought. But I was flying British Airways, so I could have 23 kg in that carry-on. So I stuffed my bag full of jeans, because jeans was like, the person told me that jeans. I was told that jeans is expensive here. Not like that, but like it's more like ridiculously expensive compared to like I was still coming from Nigeria and I'll be able to find cheap jeans. So I got jeans, and then I had one other 23 kg that I brought all manner of stuff. Honestly, like the kind of food stuff I brought, some of those food I didn't eat them in 1 year. I'm serious. I didn't eat some of those food though, but I brought them because at the end of the day, I didn't even have time to cook, to be honest. Like a lot. I think I just stressed myself in my master's. Anyway, that's the story for another day. But I really stressed myself. I didn't really cook a lot during my master's. So I didn't cook soup. I was majorly cooking stew. So most of the soup I even brought soup items. I brought dried vegetables.
Mm.
I packed a lot of stuff that I did not
Mm.
use after 1 year, but
Mm.
food a lot. Then I brought all this attachment. That was one bag dedicated to food. Then the last bag was dedicated to like weave on and
Mm.
random things that were just, I don't know, that were supposed to make my life easy. A few shoes, because I remember I was told, oh, don't bring heels because you will not really use heels here. And I was
Mm.
also told, don't bother to buy winter jackets because
Yeah.
whatever jackets you have, Nigeria is going to be trash. You'll find better ones. And so you want to invest in a good winter jacket. So I'm glad I stuck to that advice. I just bought one. And that one,
Mm.
Jesus, the jacket was heavy. Like when I was actually buying it in Nigeria, I was so happy. Oh, it's heavy. That means it's going to protect me. And then I reached here and the jackets are completely light, but they insulate even better than that heavy one. I don't understand what was going on with that jacket, but it was cute anyway. And then
Mm.
I'm figuring out accommodation, my own story. I was so lucky. Chidinma, you visited me now in good enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, good enough for school. And how I got to know about the places is it's like it's quite remarkable because I was on
Mm.
the way you just join WhatsApp groups when you are
Mm.
applying looking for scholarships. So it was how I joined one. It was Commonwealth group,
Mm.
and it was just for everybody that applied. Then someone just came to the group and was like, "Oh, if you got a Commonwealth scholarship and you're based in London, check out Good Enough College,
Mm.
stuff." So I went to check the website. The place was expensive. I saw the place was nice. Actually, it was very nice,
Mm.
obviously. And then I went to check the costs, and then I just closed the website. I just because I was like, who? Like it was almost taking like 80-90% of my
Mm.
scholarship money already on top of
Mm.
accommodation. I'm like, so what am I going to eat? How am I going to transport? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is this? I just closed. I don't even know what now
Mm.
made me think that, oh, these people could have scholarships. So I should go back
Mm.
and check the website again. So I went
Mm.
back. I checked this. I went back and checked, and I think what happened was I had a conversation with the lady. I chatted her up because I was like,
Mm.
so I was not asking her that. Wait, oh, how are you going to be able to afford the
Mm.
place? Because I've gone to check and I see that the price is no joke. And
Mm.
she's like,
Mm.
oh, that's I think a friend recommended it to her, and it's very very close to university. And even though she doesn't have a lot of money left, she's still going to go
Mm.
there by all means. But I think she also
Mm.
mentioned that I could check out because they have scholarships and I could consider applying for
Mm.
those. So that was how I
Mm.
went to check for scholarships. And I was like,
Mm.
well, some people have already given me plenty money just because
Mm.
they think I'm awesome. So let me see, maybe some
Mm.
people want to give me more money. Ah, and so I sat down and wrote because of the essay, so it wasn't a joke. Oh, I had to write
Mm.
two different essays as well. So I sat down and wrote my
Mm.
essays and wrote up my story of my life and why they should give me money.
Mm.
So why they should in fact because they had different levels of scholarship. So there was the one that they would subsidize your rent, there was the one that would give you free feeding, then there was the one that you would actually stay for free. I was looking for the one
Mm.
that would stay for free. Like this which allowed me to hold on my scholarship money.
Mm.
I knew it was unlikely, Sha, to be honest, that because they knew I was already funded. So,
Mm.
well, if I let me try, because what happened was they had a scholarship that was free for a Chevy, like just one Chevy scholar will be able
Oh,
to
wow.
stay for free. So there's somebody that
Wow.
will get that. But Commonwealth didn't have that. So Commonwealth was four will stay at subsidized rates, but Chevy was
Oh.
one person will stay for free.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I applied though. I was like, and they had different other categories because the place is like old and renowned,
Mm.
so they had different kind of fundings and scholarships that were available there. So long
Mhm.
story short, after I applied, I got the place. Like it was so nice. I got the place. Then there was also even getting that place had another issue because the first year, even though I had a deduction, I was the deduction would not apply for the first year. So I got like is it 30%
Mm.
relief
Mm.
for the fees, so which made it a very sensible place. It became cheaper than my school accommodation, cheaper than a
Mm.
lot of places in London. Like
Mm.
a lot of places in London was very centrally located such that I didn't have to rely on public transport. So I was basically paying like zero in transport costs and I was paying a
Mm.
very, very cheap rent, cheaper than almost anywhere. In fact, central London, there was no way I would have gotten that price anywhere in central London. My school's accommodation that was cheap was even more expensive than what I was paying. So but then I had to pay. I remember I had to pay, which is another thing that people have to do, like sending email and asking for concessions. So they were like,
Mm.
"Oh, I had to pay a deposit before I arrived." it's not a deposit, but it was like holding acceptance kind of fee. But it would be my 1 month, it would count for my 1 month rent. Essentially, I was supposed to pay my 1 month rent before I started. And I was like, I don't have that money because I'm going to use my scholarship money. So I remember reaching out to my sibling and saying, oh, my sibling was like, yeah, I know I've been in the UK, but it's like, I still don't have that money. There's no way. Like, so I was asking for more than £1,000 because that was what I had to pay that first month. So I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I would suggest that you write to them, send them your scholarship letter so they know for sure that you have been picked and everything, and this money is definitely coming. And then tell them that if they can give you a discount, so you pay the discounted fee to hold. It's not like they say that you say don't pay anything, but like just tell them I'm happy to pay some money, but I can't pay this. So that was what I did, and I think that was like my first introduction to like writing stuff and knowing that writing, like reaching out and asking for concession, like really, really works. So I said to them, I was like, thank you for the offer. I'm happy to accept the scholarship as well, but I still can't pay this money because I'm not yet in the UK, and until I'm in the UK, I don't get my funding attached to my stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, just send £100 and we'll hold the money for you. When you come, you pay the rest. And I was like, yeah, nice. So I told my sibling, they're like, oh yeah, £100 is completely doable.
Doable, yeah. Over £1,000 is crazy.
Exactly. So that was what I paid. But after then that was my accommodation. So Good Enough was like the place for me. Like it was so dope. It was so dope. Like I could not even scratch the surface of enjoying the benefits of living in that place. Now in retrospect, I'm like, I really played myself. But I didn't really play myself. I would not even lie. I learned a lot of things just staying there. But there was still so much more to be done that I was too focused on this masters. It's a good thing actually, but I really
I think that's
masters
probably
because
something we'll talk about, some other day. Maybe we'll highlight it. I mean, I think this maybe would actually just be like the first episode. I think it's difficult to fully cover everything about one's experience. In that context, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I totally understand. So that was it though. That was the Chidinma. So yeah. What was the next consideration for you when you moved?
I think that one of the, I would think now talking about my experience beyond preparation was culture shock. A lot of things were a little bit different. I think in Nigeria, generally, we tend to be, homebodies, chatty, for instance, I didn't know that. And I mean, maybe some people used to do that, but then when they were in Nigeria, but typically, my idea of when someone gives me a phone number to call, it meant that I could call you at appropriate times, of course, not midnight. But I didn't know that you had to text someone and then, oh, can I call you? Is it okay to call you at this time before you call? If not, they're not going to pick your call. And it's so funny because then you see the person and the person is all chatting. And in my head, I'm like, well, you did not pick my call. You never replied to. So it was a little bit that would I say, not communal, because it's like I don't have to pick your call. I don't owe you. So I think that culture of not owing anybody anything, which is a little bit different from what we know in Nigeria, because you can see someone like, you don't pick my question, be apologizing. And it was a bit different here. In the UK, I think the weather was a shock, but not so much because I already knew it was cold. But however, I stayed in northern England, and it's a little bit more colder than the south, for instance, London. So that was really cold. I think another thing, the food was also not a shock because I already knew. So I came with food stuff, and thankfully I was able to see where to buy food, African food. So that was helpful. Although the first time I arrived, I used to go to this African shop, and I didn't know that the lady was taking all my money until I found Asian stores. So one thing I found out that Asian stores do have some things that we liked, and really at a much more affordable rates compared to like African stores. So that was really helpful. I think maybe the classroom dynamics and the system of learning was a little bit different. So I remember the first time we had a class, the lecture contents were preloaded, so you have to watch the videos rather before coming to the class. And I was trying to make my notes the same way I used to make in Nigeria, defined it. After 1 week, I was like, if I do this, I'll not be able to do anything else. So it was just a little bit different, just knowing that the idea of learning is to gain the concepts, right? You're not trying to cram anything, but really understand it. So, well, I mean, overall, I think these were like the few culture shocks that I had. Was it easy for you to blend in?
And so again, I think it still ties back to kind of like my why I'm grateful for good enough generally, because it was an international hall of residence for postgraduate students. So what that meant was almost everybody was not from the UK.
Mm,
There were a few people from the UK, but like almost everybody was not from the UK, and everybody was a postgraduate student. So it helps me. So I was just in a community of people who were new to the environment, and because of that, a lot
mm,
of activities or stuff that were going on, they were targeted to fit that audience.
mm,
So again, so it was always easy to walk up to somebody and say hi. Oh, where are you from? Malaysia,
mm,
India, Turkey, Indonesia. It was just different places every day. Like you meet someone in the kitchen, the person is from somewhere. So it helped me be.
mm,
To be fair, I didn't. I wasn't looking to make very, very good friends, but I was
mm,
able to just have people to talk to. So if I step into the kitchen, I knew that I could always strike up a conversation and learn something new. And even if I'd met the person before and we've talked about where the person was from, because everybody was postgraduate, everybody was kind of doing research. So I could ask the person particularly about what the person was studying, what was the person's research area, and that would always be conversation to have. And then over time, I got to know more people more and talk about, oh, what are your plans for this weekend? I'm traveling. And then next time I see, I'll be like, oh, how was your trip?
mm,
So there was that kind of surface interaction. To be fair, amidst the deep bonds that I thought that you could
mm,
easily form in Nigeria, which is something that is very difficult to do here. Like
mm,
you just get. I'm someone that likes to get to know people, um,
mm,
really, and get to know them in really, really.
mm,
I just knew it would be almost difficult to do that here. So I just stuck to the surface. So that's something that's definitely a different culture kind of thing.
mm,
And yeah, I talked about learning. That one was a very, very interesting one. Like at the point I felt like maybe I've become dull.
mm,
Because even though I was sort of changing fields because I went from
mm,
microbiology to One Health, I still felt like it was not supposed to be that difficult. I mean, I
mm,
was understanding what they were saying in class, so but when I was handing in my assessment, I remember my first feedback. I was like,
mm,
oh, you have written more about this. Because I used to pride myself as someone who knew what
mhm,
my lecturers wanted. So it
mm,
wasn't because I was very good at reading or remembering things, or it was for me, I attribute like my good grades in university to tailoring my responses to what I think of the lecturers when they're teaching me. But
mm,
here it was quite difficult for me to decipher what the lecturers wanted. And so
mhm,
even though I enjoyed the lectures and I think I got the point, when I submitted my
mhm.
assessment, it was like, oh, you could have done more of this, you could have done more of this. I'm like, really? Like, what exactly are you guys looking for? What do you guys want from me? So that was like where I think up till today, I still don't have the answer. Because I think one of the things I've learned is that and that was the central thing I think they were trying to teach, and I think I learned it, is that critical thinking was what was very important to them. And so in
Mhm,
critical thinking, there's really no perfect. You cannot be perfect. You
mm,
are going to get feedback of how to improve always, because there's always room to improve. So at the end of the day,
mm,
even if there's, let's say your piece is perfect, then what they would ask you is, so what next?
mm,
So there's
mm,
always there's
mm,
always going to be questions. So anything I write is always they're going to critique it, and there's always
mm,
going to be something you could have done better, something you could have done
mm,
different, something you could have, yeah. So, but
mm,
again, it
mm,
was
mm,
relieving to know that it was not just me, or I and all my classmates, even the ones that studied here, trained here, Oxford, or Manchester, Glasgow, whatever. We all had that issue with the program, because my program was just like really exceptional. Like they were really looking for top level excellence. So that was a shock for me, at least academically, like
mm,
adapting it to the classroom. That was a shock for me. Regarding African food, which is funny, I probably
mm,
visited an African shop only twice or three
mhm,
times.
mm.
I switched my diet completely. I
Oh
was
wow.
Yeah, because I lived that good enough. And I remember when I moved in November, we had like once a week we had free. So they gave everybody that was living there free dinner.
Mhm,
So yeah, so I just and I'd always had a curious palate generally.
mm,
So I just kind of switched and started living more on I used to cook stew. That was the major thing. But apart from stew, and stew you can get like your tomatoes, onions in your
Yeah.
regular grocery
Mm-hmm.
Aldi. You don't need to do much. So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't cooking soup, and I think soup was the major thing that would take you to an African store because you won't get
Yeah.
those around. So
Mm-hmm.
that was it for me. So I was just doing stew and then eat rice and then eat spaghetti and then
Mm-hmm.
bread. So that was so yeah. But I mean
Hmm.
now I go to African shop like steady. I'm going back to
Mm-hmm.
my because I realized that even though their own food for some reason is still weirdly super processed than what you
Yeah.
get at an
Yeah.
African store. So I
Yeah.
realized that I have to go back. So it wasn't even a money stuff. I just felt like, oh, it's more because I was living in central London. To go and find African
Mm,
stuff, I had to travel out to where it
mm,
was mostly black dominated. So that was just stress for me that I was not interested in doing. But
mm-hmm.
anyway, so yeah, lesson, please still eat your African food as much as you can. They're expensive, oh. If you are still in the hustle phase and you have to save money, you can do like me because that time I would not. I was spending up to £100 a month on grocery, and I was eating well because I would just cook stew, cook
Mm,
rice, cook spaghetti. I was eating
mhm,
chicken. Like I was
mhm,
eating well, and I'm not spending up to £100 at least when we first
mhm,
moved because I know inflation price of things started
mm.
going up
Yeah.
gradually.
Mhm.
But yeah, but it was good times. It was good times
Yeah.
then.
I think for food, I mean, generally, I would say it depends on one. I say it depends on whether one is honest. Even though I shopped in, well, York was really affordable, so that's another thing. I mean, it became expensive much later,
Mhm.
but I'm not one who eats like a lot. I eat in bits, so usually if I get maybe my red oil a bit of leaves. In fact, by the time I finished my master's, I still had some of my, ingredients that I came with. And the funny thing is, so for instance, if you're someone that likes vegetable soup, spinach can give you the
Mm,
taste, like it's an alternative to what we
mm,
usually know as like green in Nigeria or let's say pumpkin leaves. So some of the vegetables are really good and you can make something really nice out of it that almost tastes, but I say African. I think the major thing that would always take me is pepper because the bell peppers are not pepper.
I don't
Like,
actually.
so yeah, awesome. Okay. Oh wow, OJ, that's awesome hearing about your experiences about food and everything else. It's really beautiful. So, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, this is a huge topic. It's not something that we can finish in one episode. Maybe we'll have our experience in Japa 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hmm?
So, I mean, as we round up, is there like one thing that you want to leave out in terms of your experience and maybe something to look out for the next episode where we're going to share more about culture, finances. We've talked a little bit about money. If you're the type that converts every single pound to naira, you have hypertension. So,
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say generally, like one advice I'll give anybody that's like preparing to travel is like just be open-minded and curious and
mm,
adaptable.
mhm,
I think if you had those three things, you probably survive. So adaptable, like being flexible and responsive to what's happening around you and like to your new environment, and be curious. Like ask
mm,
questions. Don't keep to yourself and be stuck in doing things the way you normally used to do it before. So
mm,
I'll just stop there.
mm. That's awesome. That's beautiful. I think for me, I would say do a lot of research. My research, I don't mean publishing a paper. Like Google is probably when people say Google is your best friend, like Google is your best friend. Do
Yes.
research, ask questions, ask questions. There are beautiful communities in schools that can help you like navigate through the next first few phases. So that's awesome. Well, I think to our listeners, we hope this episode has been enlightening and encouraging. So, this is phase one. We're going to have another episode where we delve into more. It's always such a wonderful time spending. It's always wonderful spending time with you, chit chat, and hopefully, OJ, one of these days will put a face to our audience.
Yes.
well, so stay chatty, stay curious, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Scholar Chit Chat. If you found our conversation insightful and enjoyable, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated. We've got a lot more in store and we don't want you to miss out. We are always diving into topics like this: academics, scholarship, professional life, and the international student experience. It's what makes Scholars Chit Chats your go-to podcast for a fresh perspective. Also, don't keep all this wisdom to yourself. Share this episode with your friends and family who could benefit from it. We are building a community of learners and would love for you to be a part of it.
Your thoughts matter to us. We want to hear from you. Drop your comments and questions in the chat, or send your questions, suggestions, and comments to scholarchitchat@gmail.com. Your input helps shape the future of Scholar Chit Chats.
So that's a wrap for today, and we'll be back with more inside stories and chit chats in the next episode. Until then, take care, stay curious, and see you soon.